Hi everyone, welcome to Vantage Live Analysis session. So as always, I'll wait for about 1 more minute for more people to join us before we get the session started. At the same time, if you guys have any questions, right, feel free to put them under the questions chat. Okay, so we'll give it about 1 to 2 more minutes for more people to join us. For those of you guys who are here with us right now, a very warm welcome. So for today, we are doing our live analysis session. So how the flow of the session would go is that we will hop onto the economic calendar just to take a look at the key events that are coming up for this week. And then we will also hop onto our trade setups to do our review from the calls that were made last week and also the trade setups that we will be looking at in the coming week. So I have both the Q&A as well as the chat box open as well. So if you guys have any questions with regards to specific charts that you want us to look at, right, please put them under the questions tab. Okay, so we have requests for US 100, DEX, as well as US dollar index. So yes, yep, we'll be taking a look at that. Right, so if you guys have any other requests, to put them under the chat as well. Okay, so let's get the session started. Right, so those of you guys who are with us right now and who just joined us, we are doing the live analysis session for today. So just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Li Sing. I provide FX advisory to institutional clients. I'm also part of the team that's recognized by the Technical Analyst Awards as finalists for the best FX research. If you guys are here with us live, right, if you have any questions, do put them under the questions chat. If not, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well if you are watching a recording on YouTube. So just a quick disclaimer, right? The information presented here is not to be treated as investment advice. It's for educational purposes only. So this is the agenda that we will be having for today. We will hop onto the economic calendar for the key events, and then we will also move on to the trade setups. So looking at the setups for the coming week and reviewing the setups that were made last week. And of course, throughout the session, we have the Q&A box open. So if you guys have any questions, any chat requests, do put them under the chat. Okay, so before we hop on to the trade setups, right, let's take a look at our economic calendar. Okay, so for the economic calendar first, let me just minimize this. So for economic calendar, what you want to do is go to Forex Factory, or you can go to Vantage Markets, right? So either one. So usually I alternate between this, right? So just filter according to the local time. And then at the same time, right, you can also check the impact. So the ones with the higher impacts are usually denoted in red and orange, right? So usually these are the ones that I'm keeping a lookout for. So for today, you can see that we have CAT mainly affecting CAT's data. So CAT CPI data coming up, as well as dollars consumer confidence data. Yesterday, we had Bank of Japan monetary policy, as well as CAT retail sales data. And for the coming ones, so this is for today, right? And then for tomorrow, we have mainly on the dollar, as well as CAT's GDP. So it's a pretty muted week, right? So the key events would revolve mainly around dollar and CAT. So other key news that we have in this case, right, would be, so let me just remove this. Okay, so other key news events that we have would be, for example, Bank of Japan. Okay, so this would be the one. So essentially, Bank of Japan letting the benchmark rate rise, right? So this caused the yen to surge. You can see here, right? So essentially, BOJ says that the 10-year government bond yield can go up as high as 0.5%. It's a previous revision upwards, right, from its cap of 0.25%. So if you take a look at dollar yen here, right, so you can see on dollar yen, so there's been some prominent selling of the dollar against the yen, especially with this recent move. So you can see that dollar yen has been on a strong downtrend with successive lower lows and lower highs being formed. And you can see this area, right? So essentially this strong push that we have over here. was partly triggered by that event, and also the interest rates narrowing between Fed as well as the Bank of Japan. So this is looking at dollar yen, right? So other events would be, for example, EU themselves agreeing to a price cap agreement. So they are keeping a price cap at 180 per megawatt hour. So that it's the final one. So the price ceiling was fixed at 180 euros per megawatt hour here. So these are the key updates, right? So next we want to take a look at the trade setups. So for trade setups last week, we took a look at Aussie dollar, dollar index, pound dollar, as well as gold. So we will be doing a review of that. And then later on, I will also be taking a look at setups on gold as well as pound dollar. And we also have requests for US 100, Germany 30 US and dollar index, right? So we will be taking a look at those as well. If you guys have any other chat requests, do put them under the questions chat. Okay, so let's take a look at the review first on Aussie dollar, dollar index, pound dollar, as well as gold. Right, so on Aussie dollar itself, you can see that this was the setup. So let's take a look at the setup. Okay, so let me just again go through the higher time frame first. So you can see on Aussie dollar on the higher time frame, if you take a look at it, I believe on the daily. So the daily area over here, you can see that this is the daily supply zone that prices tested. So prices came into this region. We saw a break below this ascending channel here, and this serves as the last support and resistance level. So we highlighted this region here. So you can see that this is the 4-hour zone, essentially price coming to test as support and resistance. It's also the breakout level where we saw a strong bearish candle confirming that breakout, and also a break below the ascending channel price. Then we came back into this region where we saw again sellers coming in to push prices lower, represented by this wick here. So this is the resistance that prices were holding within. So you can see that this price came in and respected this resistance zone nicely. We also did a Fibonacci retracement of the move, right? So back when we saw the move on Friday, essentially we took a retracement here because this was the move. So starting from the high, ending at the low, you can see that this resistance zone also lines up with the 23.6 Fibonacci retracement, which is this area here. So this zone that we have, right, this resistance area lines up very nicely with the 23.6 resistance Fibonacci retracement. So this is the resistance zone that we have highlighted on the 4 hours time frame. So we highlighted two zones. One it's here, right? And if price pushed higher, this is the next area to look at. So currently you can see that price came into this region, same thing, right? So when price taps into this region, you want to again go down to the smaller time frame for confirmation. So when price comes into the 4 hours time frame, you can go into the 15 minutes time frame over here. So you can see that coming into this region itself, price came in, tap into the area. The first time it tapped into this area, it's this region that we have right here. So again, this has to do with order flow. So you can see that essentially when price comes into this area, it created new structure here. So when price pulls back into this region, again, if we see that supply starts gaining control, it shows us that this is a target that we can have here. So along the way, you can see that on the break of this demand, right? So in terms of structure, as always, right, you can see that coming into this region, so you have support, you have resistance here. Price started forming higher lows and higher highs, pulling back into this region. The first break below, if you want confirmation on a 15 minutes time frame, is the break of the last low that we have, which is this area here. So break and close below here. And you can see that once price breaks and close below this area, what this tells you is that this low itself fails to break above the high, hence this low it's a potential target. So you can see that price came into this area, right, and it just continued forming lower lows and lower highs before this news event triggering this push up, and then back again into the supply zone. So this is still the area to watch, right? So you can see that even in terms of the 15-minute structure, this is the last low and this is the push down. So again, when price comes into the supply area, you can see right now, right? So if you trace the structure, if price were to pull back into the supply region that we have over here, you can see that it has to form again higher lows and higher highs. So again, you can just wait for the change in structure coming into this region. So this is the same supply zone that we have. So Aussie dollar, it's this is the review on Aussie dollar, right? So previously we were bearish from this zone, but of course, again, this is a higher time frame zone. So again, you always want to go down to the smaller time frame for confirmations. Okay, we have requests for gold as well as German index, right? So we will be taking a look at that as well. You're very welcome, Chong. Okay, so yep, so those are the requests, right? If you guys have any other chart requests, do put them under the chat. So this is on Aussie dollar. The next one that we want to take a look at, it's on dollar index. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so on dollar index, right, again, starting from the higher time frame, you can see that prices are sitting on this resistance and support level, price coming in to test this region. We also did a retracement of this move, right? You can see the 50% retracement and 78.6 retracement lining up in this zone. How we got these levels, right? So essentially identifying the lows and highs, taking this low as the starting point and the high as the ending point. So what the Fibonacci retracement does is that it highlights possible areas where we can keep a lookout for, right, when prices pulls back. So you identify an impulsive wave, right? And essentially when price pulls back, you take a retracement, identifying the low as the starting point and the high as the ending point, and using that pullback. So when price comes into this zone, right, this is the support region, you can see that on the daily, it's still showing bearish moves, right? So how we can see this is that you can see on, oops, back to the dollar index, I seem to have switched the symbols. So if you're on the daily time frame, you can see over here, right? So even on the daily or 4 hours, you have subsequent lower lows and lower highs being formed. So prices are still in bearish market structure here. If you mark out just the highs and lows, you can see this area. So back when we saw the chart on Friday, we saw this area here. So we identified this resistance area. So this zone that we have here, you can see that this zone was found with, there were 3 aspects to it, right? So one is the break of the trend line. You can see again, for a trend line to be valid, we need 3 touches. So we had 3 taps over here, and then again here as well. So essentially we saw this strong bearish breakout characterized by this bearish candlestick and a clear break below the trend line, a break and close below the trend line. And this channel that we have over here, this supply zone, it's also in line with the descending channel. So those are the 2 things that we have. And of course, the graphical level, you can see how price came and tested as a support, failed it, and retested this region as a resistance. Even if you take a look at it in line chart, you can see the consolidation over here, and this then serves as a resistance. So dollar index is still holding below this resistance area that we have here, right? So right now prices are on a higher time frame demand area, but again, in order to see this demand area hold, we need to wait for a change in structure. Right now, you're still seeing bearish market structure, so there's nothing that's stopping prices from forming successive lower lows and lower highs and to continue on the downside. So in order to check whether this demand area holds, we need to see a change in structure. So ideally, we want to see price holds above the last low and also break its high. So right now, what we're seeing over here, you can see that this is the last high that's being formed. And as long as price trades below this region, so you can see that this is the high, and this high took out the last low that we have. So you can see this low, right? So essentially, we saw this impulsive move where price broke structure. So if I were to remove all these drawings, you can see that this is where price broke the structure, broke the last low here. And this is the move that's causing it. So this is the high that we need price to break above in order to confirm the upside. It's also a descending channel that we are seeing the resistance. So this would be the area here, right? And I will see this region that we have here. This is a high, right? So likely price would break above this. So right now where prices are, this is the high. Not this high, but this high, because this is the last high that took out the low. So if you're to use round numbers, right, I will look at, oops. Right, so if we're to use round numbers, it will be this region over here. So you can take a look at 105.30. Okay, so this would be the resistance zone. Again, if you're to stretch it across, it will be the same area where you can see essentially how price reacted as a support and then again as a resistance. So this is on dollar index. Right now, prices are still facing, in the short term, at least on the 4 hours, you can see that it's still under bearish pressure, and confirmation to the upside comes in when price breaks above this supply region or this resistance zone here. Okay, so that's on dollar index, right? And the next one that we have, it's on pound dollar. So let's take a look at pound dollar. Okay, so this is on pound dollar again on the higher time frame first. You can see that prices comes into this region. So if you're on the monthly picture, so pound dollar, we have requests, I believe it's by Chong, right? So earlier, 2 weeks back. So we're looking at pound dollar, and right now you can see that price broke this ascending trend line that we have here. So this is the support region. You can see that there's a consolidation area where price came in to test as a resistance here. And then right now we're coming into this region. So this is on the daily time frame. If you take a look at it on the 4 hours, we highlighted this region. So you can see that this is the first supply area. So essentially the call on Friday was to wait for a pullback. So we're bearish on pound dollar. We're waiting for pullback into the supply region over here before playing to the downside. You can see that in this case, right now prices tested this support region, but we can see a break below this area. So I'm still bearish on pound dollar, right? As to the entry that we have currently, this is the supply region that we have over here. Right now prices are still developing, right? So unless there's a clear break and close below this zone that we have here, right now the picture on the 4 hours time frame, right, there isn't a nice zone for entry. So this is on pound dollar, right? So even if I were to highlight or remove these markings, I would still say that this area, so you can see that this is the support region, right? Even if you take a look at it on the daily, you see the same thing as well. So essentially price coming in to test it as both a support, right? So support area over here and then a resistance level here as well. So this is the region. And if you take a look at mapping individual candles, you can see that this would be the daily zone. So we marked out this on the 4 hours previously because this was the zone that prices interacted with. You can see how price interacted as a resistance, a strong bearish bullish break above it, and holding it as a support before retesting it as a resistance for more downside. So this is on the daily. There is a new supply zone that emerged on the daily time frame. You can see again is this area here. So this is on the daily picture. So I want to highlight this, and we can take a look at the smaller time frame. So these are all the zones that we have on the daily. Here, right, in terms of the support region, you can see that this is the area. So again, just looking at how price interact with this region, you can see a sharp reversal. And again over here, before price hesitated with this bullish break above. So these are the areas to watch, right? So when price pulls back in to this daily zone, we can wait for potential shorts, right? Essentially waiting for a change in structure on the smaller time frame. So on the 4 hours, you can see that there is a descending channel that's starting to form over here. So in order for it to be considered a valid channel, we need to see a tap of both the support and resistance level. So this area, right? So for it to be considered a valid channel, we need a tap of the resistance twice and then a support region twice as well. So in this case, this channel would probably be more appropriate if I were to draw it like this. Okay, so this area, you can see that price came in and it tested this resistance region twice and a support level twice as well. So right now we're seeing a bearish break into this region. So this is on the 4 hours. If you go down to the 30 minutes time frame, you can see the structure on the 30 minutes time frame. So on the 30 minutes time frame, what we have, it's again subsequent lower lows and lower highs being formed. So if you take a look at structure, just mark out the structure, you can see that this is the high, this is the low, this is the next high, the next low. So you can see successive lower lows and lower highs being formed. So in order to confirm that it's a high, which will hold, we need price to break below the low. So currently prices are coming into this region. So ideally what we want to see is a clear break and close below this low and a pullback, right? So once price enters into the pullback, you can see again, right, just on the 30 minutes time frame itself, this supply region, right? So on the 30 minutes time frame, you can again see this area. So even this is the fractal nature of markets. Essentially, if you see any reversal on the higher time frame, you will first see it on the smaller time frame. So that's the idea, right? So you can see this region again. If I were to just remove this descending channel, or maybe just lighten this color. So let me just lighten this. You can see that this area, so within the descending channel itself, you have a resistance zone. And how we identify this, again, just based on how prices reacted as both a resistance and a support. If you take a look at it in close as well, you can see the same thing, just draw a horizontal line across, right? So how price reacted here and then again here. So this is the region to watch, right? So if price breaks below this low that we have, what this shows is that on the pullback, we could be playing a drop in this region. So just to check this area, right? So right now prices are still developing, so we wouldn't know if prices are going to continue and where it's going to end up. But just taking what we have currently, you can see that this would be the push. And if we're expecting any pullback, we can take the high. And assuming that price ends off at this low, right, we can take a Fibonacci retracement from this. So starting point from high to low, and you can see that this lines up very nicely with the 61.8 retracement. So I'll put this in pink. You can see this area here. So essentially price lining up with the 61.8 retracement. So on this pullback, right, this is one area to watch. So this is one region that we have, right? So again, when price comes into this region, you can go. So this is a 30 minutes time frame, right? We can check either the 10 minutes or the 5 minutes time frame to wait for a clear change in structure before taking the shots. So this is my view on pound dollar, right? So this would be the zone to watch. So again, we need to see how price interact with this zone, right? Coming into this region. So this is the on pound dollar, right? So the next one that we want to take a look at would be on gold. And we have requests for, them as well, right? So this would be on gold. So let's take a look at gold. So back on gold on the, I believe the higher time frame. So essentially on the daily time frame, we can see that prices are still in an ascending channel. So this ascending channel that we've highlighted, it's coming into a supply region that we have above over here. But again, if you take a look at daily structure, you're still seeing bullish market structure with higher highs and higher lows being formed. So price could consolidate for a while here, right? Which is why we want to take a look at a smaller time frame. So as far as we're concerned on the daily, it's still in a bullish market structure. Back where we saw the chart on Friday, we were somewhere here in time. So we highlighted this as the demand area. So this is on the 4 hours. We highlighted this area as a demand. So again, just taking a look at the highs and lows, you can see successive higher lows and higher highs being formed. We see that pullback. So we highlighted this as a demand region in gray, right? So this zone that we have over here. And how you marked out this zone, again, taking a look at how price interact. So the consolidation here can serve as a support. So you can see how price interacted with this consolidation. Price broke above it, retested, and we saw a strong push out. So this is the 4 hours demand area. You see that push, the impulsive move up and that pullback. So we did a Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high here, and we found that the demand area coincides with the 78.6 Fibonacci retracement. So when price comes into this region, I believe we were on the 15 minutes time frame. So yeah, so when price comes into this area over here, right? So we were bullish on the 4 hours. So essentially this area, you can see that coming into the 15 minutes time frame, you can again see lower lows and lower highs that are being formed. So the break and market structure comes in here, right? So the confirmation, which we highlighted, would be this area. So this was the upside confirmation level, essentially waiting for price to break above this level because this is the last high that was being formed. So if price fails to form a lower low, what this suggests is that this high itself would be weak and hence it's a targeted high. And this is in line with the 4 hours demand area. So it's in line with the bullish order flow that we're seeing on the 4 hours, which is this demand area. So once the 15 minutes, right? So once price breaks above this 15 minutes, you see a break and close above this. So let me just remove all these markings, right? So that's the idea. You can see that price came in and it broke above this trigger level that we're expecting here. So there's a strong break and close above represented by this bullish candle. And then price came into the supply region, right? So this supply region over here, we tested this area. So following the break and close above and then continue on the upside. So right now, this is the first resistance area, right? So price rejected from that area and then it just continued upwards. So this is on the 4 hours picture, right? So this upside confirmation. So right now where we are on gold, so if you take a look at this, right? So let me just remove all these markings. So we have the break above the upside. So you can see on the 15 minutes. So currently, if you take a look at the structure on gold, it's in an ascending channel, this demand region is still the same area, right? So it still holds. If you take a look at the structure on the 4 hours, this is currently what we have right now. So you can see that this is the push up. It formed a new low, and right now prices are coming back into this area. So on the 4 hours itself, you can see that the extreme of this move could serve as a resistance area. Or if you go down to the 1 hour time frame or 30 minutes, right, this region here, essentially what we have over here, it's that there are a few ways you can take a look at this. So either you can take a look at it in terms of the extremes of this moves. So essentially when there is a strong push down, right, you can see sharp spike up followed by this strong movement down. This areas itself, you can see that this equal highs usually serve as liquidity. So the idea is that when price comes into this area, you have a lot of people who are selling over here, right? And some of them still have their stop losses placed slightly below, slightly above. If they're selling, their stop losses are slightly above. So these are areas of liquidity that people can target. But what is interesting to note is that this area, this region itself, where we saw this consolidation, you can see that this region itself would serve as the supply. So if we go back to the 1 hour time frame, you can see this area over here. So this area, so essentially there is this strong push up and followed by equally strong sell that we have here. So you can see this bullish candle and then followed by a bearish candle that we have, right? And this bearish candle closed below the previous bullish move that we have here, indicating that sellers overwhelm the buyers. So this area itself would be a potential supply. So supply region here. So again, if we have a supply region coming in over here, what we can do is that, again, when price comes into this region, we want to go down to the smaller time frame. So on the 15 minutes and see if there is a change in structure in order to play the drop. Okay, so in order to take shots. So this is on the 4 hours, on the 1 hour picture, sorry. So on the 1 hour picture here, right? So you can see that on the 1 hour, what we want to do next is identify support areas. So this is one. Just looking at how price interact with this region, you can see there is supply and then the strong break above this area. So this is one to watch. And of course, the next area that we have would be the H4 demand area here. So this is one, and the next one would be this region. So what this shows us is that if supply starts gaining control over here on the 15 minutes, for example, we can play shots targeting the 1 hour demand area over here and also the 4 hours demand. So of course, once price comes in our favor, right, then we will have to take a look at the trade management portion of it. So this is on the 15 minutes time frame. You can see that right now on the 15 minutes time frame, there isn't any clear structure that's being formed yet. So we will have to wait for this development. Right? So ideally what we want to see coming into this region is that you can see here, maybe not so much on the 15 minutes, but on the 10 minutes, you can see this region. So essentially prices are still trading within this range. There is no clear break of this lows. So this area here. So you can see that this is the low that we have, right? So this region over here. So what we want to wait for is a clear break, right? A clear structure that's being formed and a clear break below that structure. So you can see that right now prices are just consolidating, just moving sideways. So what we want to see is a clear sharp move, right? Significant move that we saw over here. So you can see that if we were to trace out this move, this is a significant reversal. So right now prices are still forming that. So we will have to see how price develop here, but that's the idea, right? So if price forms a new structure, comes into a supply region that we have, and you can see that on the smaller time frame, resistance areas are starting to hold or supply regions are starting to hold, then this is a sign that this low itself fails to break the high, and this is a targeted area, and it's in line with the higher time frame. Okay. Okay, I have another request, right, for dollar yen by mix. So yes, we'll be taking a look at that, right? So let's take a look at, so I've gone through on gold and dollar index, right? So I'll be taking a look at US 100 DEX as well as dollar yen. So let's take a look at US 100, right? So on US 100, this is let's take a look at a higher time frame first. So if you take a look at a higher time frame, you can see that we've marked out all the zones. So we have this resistance turn support areas, and also this region here. So these are all the zones on the higher time frame. You can see these areas. And these are the regions. So essentially, we have this demand area that prices are currently testing. And this is the demand region that we've highlighted on the smaller picture as well. I believe this is on the daily, right? So you can see how prices interacted with this zone. So currently it's sitting on the daily time frame. Let me just remove all this because this is not relevant anymore, right? So on the daily picture, these levels are still intact. You can see the zones. So currently this is on the daily picture. Prices came in, tapped into this demand area. Again, this is on the 4 hours, on the daily. You can see on the 4 hours, right? Or even on the 1 hour, it's quite obvious that right now we're still in a bearish market structure pulling in. You can see this subsequent lower lows and lower highs being formed. So if I take a look at it on the 1 hour, you can see lower lows and lower highs that are being formed. So again, what we want to see coming into this region. So in order to confirm that this daily demand zones hold, it's going to hold, we need to wait for a change in structure on the 15 minutes time frame. So a clear move or a clear change in market structure. So if you're on the 15 minutes, you can see that this would be the move, right? So essentially, this is the low. And right now, price broke above this region. So this is the last move that we have. So essentially, this is the move. And if there's any pullback, that'll be the region to watch. So in terms of where we would see the support area, right? This is one. You can see how price came and tapped into this region and broke above. So it creates the support region here. So this is the support area. So this is one support area to watch, right? So when price comes into this region, and the reason why we highlighted this is because we saw how price interacted with this. You can see the significant rejection of it, price coming in to tap it as a support again before it continued on the upside. So this is one supply or the demand region to watch on the M15. What you can do next, take a Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high, and essentially see if there are any Fibonacci confluence levels that line up there. So in this example, you can see the 61.8 retracement, the same one that we have here, lining up here, right? We can see a potential ascending channel that's being formed as well. Not so much of an ascending channel here. So this would be a certain ascending channel. So again, for an ascending channel to be valid, you need a tap of a support and resistance level at least twice. So this is the area. You can see how price came in to tap it, the support area and then the resistance, right? And this would be the region to watch. So when price comes into this area, again, if you want a smaller time frame confirmation, you can go down to either the 5 minutes or even smaller. You can see that pulling into this demand area, you have subsequent lower lows and lower highs that are being formed. So you just wait for price to tap into this region and wait for a change in market structure. So essentially, if this demand area is to hold, price should break above the last high and continue on to the upside. Okay, so this is on US 100. These are the zones that I will be watching. So this area here, right? So if you're on the 15 minutes or even a 1 hour time frame, what's important to note is that right now at this region itself, you do have this supply area or this support and resistance level. We saw this sharp support previously, and then price came and tested this. So this is one area where we could be seeing a reversal. So if you're taking any long positions, right, coming into this region, you want to either protect your position or take partials or just manage to trade more aggressively. So this is on US 100, right? Another one that we have would be on DAX. Okay, and then I'll be taking a look at dollar yen. So again, let's take a look at a higher time frame first. So if you're on the daily time frame, you can see that right now, maybe on the monthly first. So this region, right? So again, on the weekly, sorry, not the monthly, you can see this region here. So this was, if I were to stretch it across, you can see how price interacted with this zone as both a support and a resistance level. So price coming in to tap this region. So this is on the weekly time frame. If you go down to the daily time frame, right, there isn't anything much here. So if I were to go down to the 4 hours time frame, you can see that prices are forming this lower lows and lower highs. And right now we're seeing a test of this resistance area. So this area here, the last high. So essentially you can see that prices are currently testing this region, but it has yet to break and close above it. We are seeing some kind of selling pressure coming into this resistance zone. So this area, right? So this is on the 4 hours. Ideally, we want to wait for a break and close above this region to signify that there is more bullish, there's buying pressure coming in. right? So this is the area to watch, right? So this is on the 4 hours picture. You can see that right now we're just seeing small slight movements coming into this area here. So this is on the 4 hours. You can see that this is the last push. Again, if we have this area, a break and close above this region. So right now we are taking a look at how this candle react, right? So if price breaks and close above this region, then it creates a new structure for us. So this is the last leg on the 4 hours. So if there is a break and close above this support, a resistance area, you can go to either the 30 minutes or 1 hour and essentially look for demand areas here. So what we have here, essentially on the 1 hour time frame, you can see that there is a demand area here. Let me put this in a different color, right? So this is the demand region. So essentially, if price breaks and close above this region, what we want to do is that coming into this area. So if there's a break and close above, when price comes into this area again, it could provide long opportunities. So when price comes into this region, if this is on a 1 hour, you can go down to the 15 minutes and again, take a look at the same thing, right? So when price comes into this region, ideally we should see a change in structure. But these are the key levels that I will be watching on the 1 hour time frame. So this area over here, if you take a look at the Fibonacci retracement of this move, taking from low to high, again, opening up the key levels, you can see that this area also lines up with the 50% retracement. And if I were to stretch it across, it's also a previous region that has been interacted multiple times as both a support and a resistance. So this is one region to watch. Right, so again, not taking an immediate trade off this region, but waiting for price to enter this zone and seeing that change in direction on the smaller time frame. So this is my view on DAX 30 in terms of a higher time frame resistance, right? This will be one to watch. You can see on the 1 hour or even the 4 hours, there's this support area where price pushed higher before that break. So these are the regions to watch for DAX, right? And the last one that we have, let's take a look at dollar yen. So if I to take a look at dollar yen on the higher time frame, you can see here on dollar yen. So if you just take a look at it on the bigger picture, let me just remove all this, right? So on the higher time frame, first on the monthly, you can see that it's currently sitting on this demand area over here. So this is the region, right? So this demand is still holding on the monthly time frame. Price came deeper into this region. If you take a look at it on the daily, you can see again lower lows and lower highs that are being formed. So dollar yen, a big part of it was also driven by the Bank of Japan's hawkish comments, right? So Bank of Japan's hawkish comments drove the yen higher, and also the narrowing interest rates between Fed as well as BOJ. So you can see that currently he's still sitting on this demand area, but even on daily time frame, you're still seeing bearish market structure with subsequent lower lows and lower highs being formed. If you take a look at it on the 4 hours, right, this is the region. So right now, the most immediate resistance zone that we have on the 4 hours is this area. You can see again this support and resistance level where price came in tested as a support, and then it failed it. So this is the first region to watch. If you're waiting for any break above the upside, this is one area to watch. So right now, I think in terms of the 4 hour structures or 1 hour, we're not seeing much bullish market structure on dollar yen yet. You can see here, right? So if price comes into this area, we want to ideally wait for a reversal of this region and price to come into a demand area. And once this demand holds, it shows us that there's potential for more upside. So there isn't a very nice setup right now for me on dollar yen, right? But these are the levels that I will be watching. So it's on the demand area over here, but as far as we are on the 4 hours or even the 1 hour, still showing bearish market structure. So until there's a new structure that's being formed and price coming into a demand area, then we could see potential for more upside. If not, right, price could just continue to the downside, right, and break this monthly demand area. So this is my view on dollar yen, right? So I hope that this answers all of your questions. Right? I think we have answered all of the requests for today as well. Okay, so I went through on gold and pound dollar. Yes, excuse me. So yeah, so this is the live analysis session for today, right? So for tomorrow, we will be having our educational session on range bar. And then on Friday, we will be doing a review of the setups that we made for today. Okay, so yeah, so thanks everyone, right? Have a great have a great trade, right? You're very welcome, Nick. Okay, so I'm glad that you find the session helpful as always, right? Thanks for staying with us till the end, right? We will catch you guys again tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.